Welcome to the Lend Academy podcast, episode number 124. This is your host, Peter Renton, founder of Lend Academy and co-founder of Lend It. Today's episode is sponsored by Lend It USA 2018, the world's leading event in financial services innovation. It's going to be happening April 9th through 11th, 2018 at Moscone West in San Francisco. We're going to be covering blockchain, digital banking, and of course, online lending and other areas of fintech. There'll be over 5,000 attendees, over 250 sponsors, and registration is now open. Just go to lendit.com/USA to register. I'm here at Lend It Europe with Gustavo Vinacua. He is with BBVA, and he's actually the founder of a new venture inside BBVA, and he's previously been the director of the Innovation Center. So we're going to be talking a lot about innovation today. Welcome to the podcast, Gustavo.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Okay, so why don't we get started? I'd like to give the listeners a little bit of background about yourself, about what you've been doing in your career up to now.
Yeah, sure. So I joined BBVA back in 2010 to run open innovation and the innovation centers globally. So we opened the innovation center in Madrid in 2011, then one in Colombia, in Bogota in 2012. And then we also opened one in Mexico a few years after. In 2010, I joined BBVA. Before that, I was working at Xerox, the R&D labs for Europe, helping them to capture value out of the intellectual property they have. So we were setting a plan to launch a few ventures also out of using the technology they had developed. And before that, in the telco industry, so I've been doing analytics and business development, innovation as well. And in parallel, in my previous career, I was also launching, building a few businesses. So you can say that now I'm sort of getting back to my entrepreneurial roots, and now since sort of a year ago, I've been building this new venture from within BBVA.
Right. Okay. We're going to get into that in some depth in a bit. Before we get into your new venture, I want to talk about sort of the Innovation Center, because BBVA, I think, it's pretty renowned for being a fairly forward-thinking company, and particularly when it comes to fintech. So tell us about the work specifically. What are you trying to achieve with the innovation centers?
Oh, well, the innovation centers have been very important for us in allowing us to interact with the external ecosystems. So we started, as I said, back in 2010. These specific spaces are very important for us to, as I was saying, to interact with the external ecosystem, but on a daily basis. So it's part of the building in Spain, for example, in Madrid. It's sort of an open space, so it's a public space, so it's full of events and activities. And the idea when we started that years ago was to find a mean to interact in a natural way. So it's for us very important because it keeps us very close to the talent and ideas out there. And on the other hand, it's also a very interesting space to inspire others inside BBVA. So most of the teams involved in innovation activities live in the Innovation Center. So we interact, as I'm saying, very naturally with the external ecosystem, but we also get other colleagues to visit us, and they can also interact and play an active role in the activities we have there.
Okay, so are you encouraging startups to come in and just set up shop there, or is this something you incubate companies like a regular incubator?
Some startups live with us. Some other players of the local ecosystem in Madrid, for example, live with us at the Innovation Center, and so it's plenty of activities, events, workshops, lots of stuff happening. But they're also working there every day. That's the interesting part of it.
It is interesting. So I want to talk a little bit. I mean, you've done some really interesting investments as a company. Adam Bank, I know you own a good chunk of Adam Bank in the UK. You acquired Simple in the US several years ago. You've invested in Prosper, in Coinbase. These are all sort of cutting-edge fintech companies, what one would describe. So is this, I'm just trying to get at what are you trying to achieve with your venture investing? Is this sort of connected with the innovation kind of philosophy there, or is this something separate?
It has all to do with leading the transformation of the industry and speeding up the process of transforming ourselves and the industry. So it has to do with getting close to the talented ideas out there, close enough in some cases to acquire those capabilities or technologies that have been built from others have built. So investing and acquiring, one example would be the Spring Studio acquisition. It's a sort of a customer experience and design firm in California, and that led us to speed up the process of having that sort of talent and capabilities inside BBVA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then do you have a specific approach with like the fintech ecosystem in these places where you are looking to invest, looking to acquire, you're looking to partner? What is the BBVA approach?
Well, as said, we want to make sure that we are close to the talent and ideas. So you never know what is going to happen. So we want to make sure that we can offer something. A good example of that would be our work on the open platform side, the API Market project, in which we are exposing part of our assets and I would say features for others to build using those features. So every time we are in a specific ecosystem, what we want to make sure is we're close enough to talented ideas, we give something, and we play an active role there. Right. What can happen after that? Of course, you can end up identifying talent that can get to work for us. You can identify specific technology you want to acquire to speed up the process, or investments, partner with others. And in some occasions, as I was saying, we prefer to build from within some of the ventures or innovation opportunities we want to explore.
Right. Well, let's move on to that. So you've got this new venture called trustyou.es. It's a Spanish language website, but it's a small business lending platform.
Yes.
It's an online small business lending platform. And I know that you said you're the founder of it. Why did you decide on that particular problem? Like, small business lending is obviously, it's a very big industry. You guys are doing it yourself I'm sure in many capacities. But why decide to launch an online small business lending platform?
Yeah, in this case, it's about helping small businesses access finance, and in particular, small businesses in the first few years of operations, they struggle the most. I mean, they really have a hard time getting access to finance. So thin files, so very very little information to show that they're going to be able to repay those loans, right? So the whole idea is to give access, help them access finance. The reason why we have started building this from within BBVA is because in this specific case, we have a data asset that is very, very important. So we've been, of course, building a specific piece of technology that has to do with the risk assessment piece, at least one part, because it's a combination of I would say sort of a more traditional, but with the latest technology, more traditional, I would say, risk assessment combined with the social underwriting piece. So if others lend the SME some money, we may also be interested in lending them.
Okay. So this is not coming. Can you just maybe explain the platform a little bit?
Sure.
So how does it actually work?
So what we did is, we know that there are lots of small businesses struggling to access finance, and we know that what happens in real life when others don't lend them money is that it's friends and family who trust them and lend them money. So What we have built is a platform that brings together loans from the inner circle of the SME and contributes with additional finance on top of that based on a new risk model. This additional finance is our own money lending to them. So it's an hybrid sort of a model. And so the way it works is we ask small businesses to register and connect their bank account, the bank account they're using to manage their business. We go get some information and combine those data, and we calculate the trust index. It's a score, of course. So if they pass this first analysis, then we ask them, if you get a bit of the money you need from your friends and family, we lend you the rest. So that is the way the model works. They get the money from friends and family in a private way, so they don't have to create a campaign. It's not about crowdfunding, so they don't have to just go out there explaining what they want to do. They may just send an email to a good friend or a family member, and they get some of the money from them. And if that happens, and we confirm that happens, we lend them the rest of the money they need.
Is there a certain percentage they have to obtain before you will lend them the money?
That is part of the model. Is of course calculating how much of the money from friends and family we may need, and of course it's also part of the process of learning we are having.
Right. So I guess if someone has, you might think they're a bit higher risk. You might say they need 50%, or they need a higher percentage than someone who's lower risk.
That could be the case. It's not really that linear, but that could be the case. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so you mentioned earlier that you wanted to build this in-house because you have sort of the data. What did you mean by that? What sort of data? Because this is not just BBVA customers, right? This is open to anybody?
Yeah.
So what is the data advantage that you have that you wanted to build this in-house?
Well, BBVA is a large bank, so we've been lending money, as you were saying, in different capacities and to SMEs. So there's plenty of know-how and data about small businesses that you can leverage in building something like we have built, of course. So that's the reason why we did it. Yeah.
Okay. So you're not and these are smaller loans. Are these loans that the bank wouldn't necessarily do? Or is this something that is competing with some of your existing products?
Well, I would say that both banks and alternative lenders tend to unserve this specific segment. So small businesses in the first few years, maybe 2 years, 3 years of operations, it's a specific segment that both banks and alternative lenders tend to leave outside, and they're hugely unserved. So in that sense, it's not really competing directly, but of course the whole idea is that we want to disrupt the way this is done in a way that is really finding ways to help small businesses, and that could also lead to extending the use of this sort of model in other segments, of course.
Right. So I'm curious about the extension of the model, and actually let's just maybe extending the model to other countries. I'm curious about, because your name is trustyou.es, so it's a Spanish language website with an English domain. So does this mean that BBVA is obviously in many countries around the world? Is this something that you're planning on expanding geographically?
Yes. So this, of course, when the whole reason behind launching this sort of a venture is learning, of course, and trying to identify specific ways to do things in a different way, in a better way. So if we find a way to serve small businesses, this specific small businesses, in a way that fits to them, and so of course we would be interested in doing that at a different scale, and not just in Spain. So I would say that any entrepreneur out there would answer the same way to such question. Yeah. Right.
Well, but clearly you've approached it with the intention, I'm guessing, of this will not just stay in Spain.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have had a Spanish name, right?
When we've been leading the industry transformation, so of course in that sense we're ambitious, and if things go the right way, that would be something reasonable to be done. Yeah, sure.
I know this is brand new. I mean, how long ago did you launch this? Or when did it go live?
So we went live a month and a half ago, something like that. So it's pretty new. We have just started out there live. Small businesses are registering and asking for loans. So we are pretty happy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, are you like the segment? You said like these businesses, they're going to get funding from their parents or their family, friends and family, whatever, and you're going to verify that. Does this mean that you're taking on riskier loans than you would have done otherwise?
Well, what it means, I would say that it means that we are bringing this piece of social underwriting element to the equation. So if others, and the way I normally explain this is, we're four brothers, and to my youngest brother, I don't lend him any money for his businesses. So I love the guy, but I wouldn't lend him money for his businesses. No, but it's true. I mean, we are able to score others and to decide who to lend to and who not to lend to. So that piece, that element is very important, and we are trying to learn and use that specific element in a smart way to help us give access to finance to one specific segment that struggles to access finance. Yeah.
So what is can you just give us a sense of the typical terms of these loans? Like, what is the typical loan size? What's the duration of the loan? The interest rate? Just average kind of ranges.
These days, the product is a very simple product, and it's up to 30,000 euros, 2 years term. And it's just a regular, unsecured, which is also important to be said, loan, 30K max. That's the
interest rates range. Is there a range of the rates?
We are trying to be, so this is giving access to finance. So it's about access. So it shouldn't be, price shouldn't be the main thing. But of course, we're trying to be sort of in the middle between banks and alternative lenders that are maybe in some cases too high, so right in the middle.
Right. Okay.
Maybe a little bit overlapping on both sides, but yeah.
Right. So then, I mean, obviously, when did you start this idea? Like, how long did it take? Because let me back up a second. We had, I don't know whether you know, New 10, which was ABN AMRO. They just launched a small business lending platform in the Netherlands. They were on stage earlier today at Lend Europe here. And they talked about really trying to do this very quickly. It was 10 months for them from the conception to actually launch. And I'm just curious about you guys. Is this something that you've been working on for years, or has it been a relatively quick process?
No, it's a matter of months. In fact, this is an interesting question, because you know that part of the conversation is about big corporations collaborating with startups, and big corporations tend to see startups, I mean, oversimplifying, but they're nimble, agile, they're quite accurate in finding specific forms, value props to get to the point, right? But nimble and agile, and so we're trying to mimic what they're doing. So we've been doing that, and it's been months. That's the whole idea. So from scratch, building a new team from scratch, all of them from outside BBVA, with the exception of myself, and a very powerful team, and a small team, and again, in months we went from scratch to having the product out there. So that's one very important thing, because it also helps us learn throughout the process and how to manage this type of activity to ensure that we can make it more recurrent, right?
Right. So is this then like you're trying to create a new company with is this going to be culturally a different thing? Like obviously you go to startups and you go to a big bank, and the culture can be very, very different. So which is this a blend of the two, or are you more at the startup end of the spectrum?
We are more a startup type of, in terms of the culturally, So we live in the innovation center, in the second floor up there. So we are in a way separate from the headquarters. The type of team if you see the picture of the team, I mean, it's not what you would expect from a bank, I would say, to avoid being so too frivolous. But it's more on the startup type of culture. But I have to say that in our case, we're so fortunate to be working within BBVA, because the BBVA culture, it's also amazing. It's incredible. In my specific case, as I was commenting with you before, so my colleagues and bosses allowed me to step back from my previous job running an innovation center, because I wanted to get back to my entrepreneurial roots and build this new team and this new business from within, with all the support from my colleagues and other pieces from within the bank, compliance and lots of stuff. So, we're in a heavily regulated industry, so that also makes a lot of sense. So we are so fortunate. So it's a startup type of a culture, but within an amazing big corp culture as well.
Right, and you don't have to go around to people trying to raise money, because you have a big corporate who can, I presume, provide you with a budget to get this business off the ground. Yeah,
sure, but it's not. I wouldn't say that's not the biggest part. So the biggest part is in allowing us to do what we wanted to do, and because it's Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So then, I've been to your website.
Is this something that you're like? I'm curious about mobile, because I feel like I've read a lot of stuff about what you guys are doing with mobile. Is this going to be a key part of the strategy for Trust You, or is it going to be more of a web-based initiative?
Well, these days it's a responsive web. These days, because we started that way just for the sake of keeping this simpler, I would say. So it is that way for now. It's not one of the main, I would say, concerns for us these days. We got to test lots of business hypotheses. Got to learn a lot in other ways. So the model is, I would say, complex and well in that sense. So mobile or desktop in this specific case, I wouldn't say it's the biggest.
Right.
The thing that keeps me awake at night.
But do you think? But if you start looking down the track, I mean, how important is mobile in general? Not just with this particular initiative, but BBVA. I feel like has been more than the typical large bank, has done a lot of interesting things when it comes to mobile, and done, I think, some, what I've seen and what I've read about, likes to push the technology envelope. So, is this, what I'm trying to get at is, do you see mobile as sort of the future, or how important is it in not just your venture, but in banking overall and BBVA's overall strategy?
Well, I'll give you I don't have a very active role in the strategy of mobile, but I do know that, of course, we have the best mobile app in the world these days, so I'm proud of that. And but my personal opinion, when you see, I'm a father of 2 kids, and I have a niece and nephews around, and when you see them interacting with their mobile phones, it's it's so embedded in all what they do throughout the day. So of course it's very important. It's very important. In our case, we have a big part of the traffic these days for Trust You. It's coming from mobile devices. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's very, very important, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're running out of time here, but I wanted to just get your thoughts as someone who, you've spent several years here at a large bank, and we keep hearing about the impact of technology, and this conference is a lot about the future of banking in general. How do you think banking in general is going to change over, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one, definitely. So, as you were mentioning, mobile and digital channels are already an important part of our business. And if you say 5 years, that is going to increase and increase and it's going to be more and more relevant. So technology, we have seen amazing stuff coming out, and changes are happening at an incredible pace. So I'm very, very interested in blockchain everyone else, I guess. In a way that is really transforming our industry. So, and data for me, Trust You is a lot about data. It's a lot about building a business out of the data we can get consent to access. But it's also, for me, it's also about being able to loop the data back to the SMEs and help them make better decisions with that data. So one important challenge for us is to find ways to ensure that we are transparent and clear, and that we ask consent and use the data in a way that helps us build a business, but that also helps the end user in other ways. So I want to make sure that we get the data, do something with that, and get it back with some extra value for small business owners to make better decisions. So data is gonna keep transforming our lives and definitely our industry.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll have to wrap it up. I appreciate you coming on the show today, Gustavo.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Really fascinating talking with Gustavo and talking to others here at this event. I mentioned the new 10 initiative that is coming in from inside ABN AMRO. There's others going on throughout the world where banks are launching fintech platforms, either by partnering with a fintech company, by developing their own technology in-house. But banks have moved from researching the space and looking at different options. They've moved into action, and we're seeing some of the more forward-thinking banks actually launch new initiatives. I think it's a fascinating time to see what companies with very strong balance sheets, with a lot of money to throw around, what they're doing to address sort of the gaps they have in the market and address some of the real needs of the market. And that's what I think we're seeing here with the Trust You initiative from BBVA. Anyway, on that note, I will sign off. I very much appreciate you listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Today's episode was sponsored by Lend It USA 2018, the world's leading event in financial services innovation. It's happening April 9th through 11th, 2018 at Moscone West in San Francisco. It's going to be the largest ever fintech event held in the Bay Area, with over 5,000 attendees expected. We'll be covering online lending, blockchain, digital banking, and much more. You can find out more by going to lendit.com/USA.